everybody, I'm Liz, this is French Toast and Books, and today we're talking about the books I read in January. I have a total of 7 books to talk about. We have the 2 that I was reading before my TBR video, and then the 5 on my random unread shelves list, which I also talked in my TBR video, for a total of 7, and we'll see what I read, what I DNF'd, and what I still plan to keep reading in February. First, we have Good Moms Have Scary Thoughts, A Healing Guide to the Secret Fears of New Mothers by Karen Kleeman. And she's a master of social work. Illustrations are done by Molly McIntyre. And I got this, it was a very, very late baby shower present from a coworker, and I binge read this in 2 nights. It's pretty thin and it's not very wordy, so it was very easy to crash read this, and it had some really good information. It really stresses postpartum depression and anxiety and just all sorts of baby blues and breastfeeding and all the scary thoughts moms get, especially when they're new moms, and kind of how to help you power through or when to seek professional help if you need it. It was a very good read, and I honestly wish I had it back when I needed it most, which was when my son was a newborn. But it was still good to read it. It was really great to kind of reassess my feelings and see how I changed and how my growth as a mom overall in the past 9 months have been. So it was a really great read. I really recommend this for new moms especially, but really any mom who just wants kind of to just feel validated with their feelings and know that it's okay to feel them, and also if those feelings are too much, when to seek help and how to seek help, because there is a reference page in the back with all sorts of websites and phone numbers, and it is fantastic. Next we have Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. This is a novella, so it's really thin, and it still took me 2 months to read it. Very glad I read it. It was very fascinating. It's basically, short broad of the story is our main character Fatima, also known as Sankofa, becomes essentially the adopted daughter of Death, and she has a fox companion, and we're trying to figure out how this little girl becomes the adopted daughter of Death and what happens and all the sorts of everything that's going on in her life. I really enjoyed it. It is a little slow-paced in my opinion, and I felt like I wanted a little bit more. I feel like that with a lot of novellas, and I think that's why I don't read novellas, is because I always want more from a story. I want more description, I want more plot, I want more. And so I didn't give it a 5. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because I still really enjoyed it, and I liked the characters and I liked the plot and everything going on. So it's really great, and I'm really glad, and I want to pick up more of Nnedi Okorafor's books in the future, because her writing is fantastic. Now we're going to do my January TBR reads, see how far I got into them and what I thought about all of them. We're going to start off with the book I finished, because there's only one other book I finished because I read 3 books this month, and that is Truthwitch by Susan Dennard. This is the first book in the series. I've had it on my TBR for ages, but I received it as a copy 2 Christmases ago, and I loved this book. I had a few little nitpicky issues with it, but other than that, I really enjoyed it. I tried doing the audiobook first, which was not a good idea because I didn't like the narration style, particularly with the action scenes, and so I had to physically read it, and I have lots of tabs because I have lots of thoughts, but overall I really enjoyed this book. The last 100 pages, y'all, whew, I stayed up until 3 o'clock in the morning to finish it because I needed to get to the end. I needed to see how everything panned out, and it was great. I do have to say that irritated me a little bit was Sophia, she interacts as a domina, which is basically like a duchess at a ball, and I was so used to her being this like thief, tough warrior, soldier type girl, I guess, that when we shifted into her other dynamic, which is her duchess domina, like pretty dresses, balls, and fine foods and stuff, it was a little jarring to me. And I felt like it was a little unbelievable. And maybe that's because I'm just so used to like the not like other girls trope, or the opposite. Like I feel like I'm so used to girls either loving dresses or hating dresses, that when I read this and she likes both, it was different for me. And so it was a little jarring. Isolde is probably my favorite character. I did like the point of view hopping because there's 4 points of view in the story. I didn't feel like any point of view really took away from the story or anything. Like, it all added so many layers, which I really loved. Merrick is very interesting, and 81 is a very interesting character with so many secrets that I want to find out more. So I need to keep reading it. It might not happen this year, but I will continue the series for sure. I very much so enjoyed it, and I'm very interested to see, because there is a romance plot in the story, how that pans out. I don't feel like it was rushed, but I feel like stuff happened behind the scenes maybe, or maybe I just didn't catch on to little like fine points in the writing to really like see them together at the point when they got together. Like, I saw it, but I didn't like see it all the way. Like, I wanted maybe a few more interactions, or a few more little quips or background stories, or like hidden things maybe. But overall, like I said, I liked it. Everything was good. The action, especially at the end, was so intense, and I raved about this to my friend who got it for me for Christmas for like a solid 30 minutes one night. So it was good. I'm glad. At least a 4, if not a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Next, we have a book I DNF'd, Agatha Christie's Closed Casket by Sophie Hannah. I tried. I got at least a third, if not almost halfway through the book. I tried to about page 125 roughly. I read a lot of it physically, but I also had an audiobook to kind of help me go a little bit faster when I was like at work and stuff. It wasn't for me. What I read so far is because I thought maybe I would start caring, because the writing is pretty good. It flows very well, so it feels like it's fast-paced, even though the story itself is a bit of a slog. And I only say that because the like whodunit, the mystery, didn't actually really wasn't even apparent by chapter 5. I do have to say that even though reading it, I didn't feel like the first book in the series was necessary, I did feel like there was a couple paragraphs where it was a little out of context, because I didn't have the prior banter between Hercule Poirot and the constable. I didn't like any of the characters actually in that mansion. They all were really vile, and it was, I didn't feel like anybody had any redeeming qualities. I could not for the life of me care by the time I figured out who died. I didn't care. I decided to read the last chapter or two to figure out who did the killing, to see if it would make me feel like I wanted to actually learn like the process of finding out who the killer was. And no, absolutely not. So I DNF'd it. I will be unhauling this book. Hopefully it can go to somebody who cares more. Next up, we have the 3 books I didn't finish, but I do at some point want to keep reading them. We have Infidel by Ayan Hershey Ali. This is nonfiction, mostly a memoir or autobiography, whatever you want to call, about her life. I read the foreword and most of chapter 1 physically. And I do better with nonfiction through audio, so I waited to get the audio from my library and I finally got it. So I'm now on chapter 3, just a little bit through chapter 3, about 2 hours into the audio, and I think the audio is about 17, 18 hours. So I'm hoping to read this quickly, especially on my commute and at work when I can. I'm very interested about her life. The only downside I feel like is even as she's a kid learning about religion, the connotation of her writing is very negative. It feels very anti-religion, and I don't want either religion shoved down my throat or anti-religion shoved down my throat. That's just kind of my personal preference because I have my own thoughts and ideas about religion. So we'll see. I'm still very interested, even though I get a little bit irked with the anti-religion statements. Then we have Cage of Deceit by Jennifer Ann Davis. This is the book 1 of Reign of Secrets. I got this through a book box. It was a mystery book box, and surprise, I'm actually kind of interested in this. It still feels kind of generic. The writing is simple. I talked about Truthwitch earlier, talking about like the not like other girls. This is definitely this main character here. Alyssa, she hates everything ball gowns because she is princess. There's some generic tropes, like her parents are withholding a lot of information from her. I know that there's been not a lot of time so far within the first 5 chapters of this book, so maybe there's going to be more open communication between her and her parents. We'll find out. I am intrigued, especially because we finally meet this other empire's prince. So I want to see kind of what happens there with all that. Next we have The Guinevere Deception by Kirsten White. I was really excited about the premise of this book. Retelling of Camelot, where Guinevere is going to Camelot to marry King Arthur, and this isn't an actual human Guinevere. This is a changeling parading around as her, and in the synopsis you're not sure why, so I'm hoping in the pages we find out why, and by about chapter 5 you kind of get a little bit of a buzz. Like, you don't know a whole lot about her backstory, but you start teasing out the details, and the writing is phenomenal. Reading about Camelot, I was adoring. Like, I was so invested even 5 chapters in that I definitely want to keep reading this book. I hope it doesn't disappoint like Kirsten White's Frankenstein retelling did. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Alright, there you have it. We have 7 books I read throughout January. 3 I finished. 1 I am still reading through audio. 2 I plan to keep trying to read, whether it's through February or a different month. And then 1 I DNF'd because it just wasn't for me. Please let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts on them, and what your favorite read for January was. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, love you. Bye!